of Tvuas Arecha v'loy lekuach. We also know that the chiyuv of Trumas Amaisris is not there until there's a Gemar Malacha, until there's Meruach, which means the final processing. Until then, one could eat tevel, and could eat tevel midioraisa, and even midrabonon could eat it achilas roy. You could use it for a snack. So now the Gemara says that the halacha is that of Trumas Amaisris midioraisa only apply to the original owner. Says Rabbeinu Tam, Tithes in the very maskil Tvuas, quotes the opinion of Rabbeinu Tam that if somebody buys unprocessed grain and he performs the miruach himself, then he will have a chiyuv the raisa to take off Trumas Amaisris. Rabbeinu Tam saying that when the Gemara says here v'lo lekuach, it's only if somebody bought it after the produce after miruach. But if he bought it before miruach, then even though he's a lekeach, he would be chayiv in Trumas Amaisris. Taisa says that if Reuven sold processed grain to Shimon, so Shimon, as we just learned, is not mechuyev in Trumas Amaisris midioraisa, and then so Reuven sold his processed grain to Shimon, and then Reuven buys back that grain from Shimon. Reuven would be mechuyev midioraisa to take off meiser, even though Shimon was not, because Shimon bought it after the miruach. But since now it's back by Reuven, who was the original owner, again it's considered Tvuas Zarecha, and he's mechuyev to take off meiser midioraisa. So according to Tithes, what we see, it's not the point of buying and selling. Rather, the Torah means to say that the person who does the miruach, that's where the chiyuv meiser comes. And therefore, if I purchased it after the miruach, there wouldn't be a chiyuv Trumas Amaisris. And therefore, according to Taisus, the halacha would be that if I am a guest by somebody, I could eat something which then take Trumas Amaisris removed from it, because the Torah said only if I did the miruach. The Rashba disagrees, and the Rashba says that if I'm a guest in someone else's home, I can't eat produce from which meiser wasn't removed, even though it doesn't belong to me, since it's only a din in selling. That if it was sold, says the Rashba, then I don't have to take off Trumas Amaisris. But if I'm eating somebody else's produce and he had to take off meiser, then I have to take off meiser as well, even though I never processed it. The Rambam says that the exemption of Tvuas Arecha applies to grain that was processed with the intent to sell. However, grain that was processed for personal use, he says it's mechuyev in meiser. Even if the owner changes his mind and decides to sell the grain, once he processed it for his own personal use, he's chayiv in meiser. On the other hand, let's say, according to the Rambam, we have grain that was processed to be sold, and then the owner changes his mind and decides to eat it himself, he would be potter from meiser. Because according to the Rambam, the chiyuv is dependent on what was the intention of the owner at the time of miruach. If at the time of miruach his intention was to keep it for himself, then the halacha will be that it's mechuyev b'meiser. And if it was not his intention at that time, it would not be chayiv in Trumas Amaisris. So we're back to our question. The Brisa said that if somebody bought produce from the owner in the field, yes, we explained that what that meant was with the tree extending into the house or into the chutzner, but he would be chayiv in meiser. But we're learning now that there is no chayiv meiser by somebody who buys it. Ella, says the Gemara, we go back. The halacha is midrabonon. The halacha is the halacha that you're not chayiv the meiser is only midrabonon. But the Kra and the pasuk that said kinafshecha, which seems to say that the worker is the same as the owner, asmachta ba'alma. The Chachamim use that pasuk. Ella, so if we're saying that the pasuk of nafshecha is